Hi, this is Micha from Wide Room, and welcome to another video. This is actually a very spontaneous one because I recently saw CosmicSkeptic's video, Alex's video, about the evil God thing. Could God also be perfectly evil? And with just twisting arguments around, you end up with a plausible explanation. This is basically the impression that the video gave me, like the message that you can just twist the arguments around and you end up with a plausible explanation of reality. And this is just what kept me thinking and going. I've been following his channel basically for a long time now. I think he makes cool videos. I'm very impressed with his intellect. He's very sharp. Especially for that age. It's ridiculous. You're very smart, Alex. I don't know, since my camera setup still set up from my last video, I thought I'd give it a try and I just try to answer it, because it just really kept me thinking the last couple of hours. Why this evil God thing can basically not be true. But the difficult thing always is to find the contradiction or the fallacy in it, because like intuitively it's like very weird to think, I don't know, the author of everything is purely evil. But the question is why? Why is it that it is so weird to think that way? An important thing to understand basically, because you can take arguments like that and twist them around all day long, and they in themselves can make sense. But I think it's important to understand why those arguments, basically for why is God necessarily all good, why those arguments are so powerful, because you have to understand their foundation or what they want to explain, because they're standing on the ground of explanatory plausibility of reality. So they want to make a plausible explanation for reality. And the evil God thing, like if you say God is purely evil and humans still have free will, and so they can choose good because that would make evil worse. I get that point, so let's go from that perspective. So there's a person and God is perfectly evil, and this person now chooses good because this person can. Now this person is on the ground of goodness. So let's say this person chooses perfect goodness, so you still have the problem to explain that ground now. So what is the source now of this ground? The problem here basically is, how can a perfectly evil God be the author of a perfectly good thing at the same time? Because since evil, the ultimate end result of evil, if you take a look at God being perfectly evil, is death. So the end result of evil is basically death. So how could death be the author of life? So the question is basically very simple. What needs to be first? Like chronologically. So in order to have death, you need life, basically. You can twist this around and say, if God is perfectly good, so what is then the foundation of perfectly evil? And this is just a lack of good. But still, but since God is the author of good and can create life, you can just say bad is a lack of good, but the other way around, it just doesn't work. If you have evil and you just say it lacks something and then you suddenly have life, it just doesn't add up. I think the only way it makes sense is if God is perfectly good and evil is just the lack of good. It's just with dark and light. I also said this in my previous video, I guess I left it in there, is that you can put light into a room, but you cannot put dark into a room. You just can take the light away. So evil and darkness are not things on their own. yeah, I think this is the most powerful argument, is that if God is perfectly evil, he cannot be the author of life, since the ultimate result of evil is death, and death cannot create life. So this is why this argument seems so twisted and so reverse, because in the bigger picture it just doesn't add up really. The other argument, or the other thing that just came to my mind regarding this question, it's just fun to think about those things basically. So thank you very much for your video. It's very cool. It kept me really going. If you like twist it around and say, or let's say that's normal, God is evil, would then the people, let's say the person, would then they strive for evil? Or would they strive for good? Let's say if you really twist it around and say God is evil, and a person then wants evil in their life, that's like the opposite of what we want right now, because we're basically striving for the good. So let's say the evil God scenario, the person strives for evil, and then their good comes in their way, and they have to overcome it in order to get more freely, more evil. I think that's how it would work. What would be the purpose of that? So what's the value in evil? And it's just nothing. Nobody would do that, because the only value you get from evil is when you bring good out of it. And this is what God does all the time. When you bring good out of evil, then you have value, basically. And I think it's good to say that life has a value and therefore is good, and therefore God necessarily needs to be good, since he's the author of life. And life needs to be first, and God cannot be pure evil, because then God would be pure death and cannot be yeah, that's just the thought I had. Or the other thing would be if God is still perfectly evil, and the person but wants to be good, but evil God tries to tempt them into evil, yeah, that wouldn't make sense anyways too. Yeah, then you have the problem again. So when this person then overcomes evil and is in the good, then you need the foundation for that. And in order to have the foundation for that, you need to have an author for life, and evil cannot be an author for life. Yeah, this is, I think, why it does not make sense at all. I think the only thing really that's happening here, basically, it's what William Lane Craig also said in a video you made with him. You're just raising the intellectual price tag, but it's way more than I'm willing to pay, because those are not plausible explanations of reality. And I think I made some powerful ones. I think you could somehow say that I presuppose that life is something good. That's just what comes to my mind now, but actually the death thing, that the ultimate result of evil is death, kind of tops that in my opinion right now. I think that's all I have to say. The reason, basically the deeper reason why I'm doing such a reaction video, I think, is because in our music the topic is really like spiritual, and it's headed towards God and towards goodness, and towards that you're not only your flesh but your spirit, and that it's a light tunnel into God's presence. This is what I want to do with this music, and give it a listen, perhaps you like it. It would be really cool. And Alex, thank you so much for your videos. I really enjoy watching them, and I think it's important to think about those topics. I think in the end you can really lead people towards something good with that. Because you make them think, because a lot of the things in the world is really to shut people's mind down and not make them think. And so I think it's really good what you're doing. And those were just my thoughts. I'm not a trained philosopher whatsoever. I'm a musician and an audio engineer, and but yeah, I can also think about stuff. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Our next single releases pretty soon, so stay tuned for that one. Bye.